Hey, what's up, guys? Today I'm going to show you how to use the JFileChooser. And before we get started, I just want to say a few things. I know that it's been a little while since I've recorded a tutorial, and I'm not going to stop that. Although we are surprisingly reaching the end of beginner Java, and so I think you guys should give yourselves a pat on the back for that. That's pretty cool. Um, I will possibly be doing intermediate later or something along the lines of that. I don't know. I hope to do a lot of other languages and programs and all this fun stuff later on, so get pumped for that. But for now, let's just finish up this and we'll move on from there. So you'll see here that I have a ton of things imported already. You can see all these imports in the source code I'm going to provide if you want to see it. You'll notice that I erased a ton of stuff except for the class, which says public class display, extends jpanel, da 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 da. Make sure to keep that. So what a JFileChooser is it's just like its name. It's a file chooser. So you press a button and it opens up this window and it says pick a file, and you can look through your computer, your hard drive, and you can pick the file and you can use that file to do stuff. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to make an application that selects your text file, and then it will print to the console everything that's inside that text file. So without a further ado, let's get started. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to declare some variables as usual. So the first one we're going to do is private JFileChooser, and let's name this FileChooser. And then we're going to make another one called JButton, and this will be called OpenButton. And then we're going to make a buffered reader. So we do that by typing buffered reader, BR. You have used buffered reader before. It allows you to read stuff just like its name. And then we're going to create a private file and name this file. And you know what? You can make this buffered reader private too. Forgot to mention that. And then we're going to make an integer. So we can do int return val. I'll explain that later. And then we'll do a string current line, and I'll explain that later. So these are all the variables we need. We don't need anything more. So let's do our constructor. We do that by typing public display, and then we go like that. Okay, so we are going to create these into objects by doing first, let's do file chooser. So we do file chooser equals new JFileChooser. Simple as that. And then we do that for open button. So we do open button equals new JButton. And then we're going to pass the argument select. So that means we're going to create a button and we're going to make the button say select. Then we're going to set the preferred size of our window, set preferred size, and we're going to do a new dimension. Oops, no N in there. Dimension. And then the dimension, or the size of our window, will be 278 by 179. Okay. And after that, we're going to set the layout. So we type set layout, and we'll put in null because we don't need a specific layout now. And then we're going to add our button to our window. So we do add open button. So this should all be review. You should already know what this is because we've done it in earlier tutorials. But just remember that add pretty much means we're adding to the GUI. Set prefer size means the size of this component, and layout is if you want to set a layout for this. And we create these as objects here. So that's just a quick review. I'm not going to go into in depth because you should already know that. And then we do open button dot set bounds. So we're going to set the boundaries or the location of our button. So let's do 84 by 145 by 100 by 25. Okay, and then we're going to do open button dot add action listener, and we'll name it, or we'll set it to listen to this class. So that's really all we need for this display constructor. We can actually get into some legitimate stuff now. I'm just going to create some space. We are going to create our action performed method. So that means if you click this button, execute this method. So let's do public void action performed action event, and we'll name this action event E. So I know this is a lot of typing, and some of you might actually have this set up. The only reason I'm retyping it is because there's some people who don't have this set up already, and it's a nice review. So inside this action event, we're going to do if E, so if the event dot get source, so if it comes from equals open button. So if you click the button, run all the code in here. So we will set return, not return, return val equal to file chooser dot show open dialog. And then we are going to pass in the parameter null. Oh my god, I'm really bad at spelling. Show open dialog. Okay, so this is when we're actually going to use this integer. This pretty much means I want you to open this file chooser GUI. I want you to actually make the file chooser visible on the screen. So then after that, we're going to check something. We're going to check if the return val or return value is equal to JFileChooser dot approve underscore option. So this pretty much means if the return value, so once you've opened this file chooser, if the value is true, so that pretty much means if someone has chosen a file successfully and it worked. If someone did not choose the file and exited it, I don't know, whatever. If someone left it, it would not run the code in here. So let's continue. We are going to set the file, which is up here. I actually literally pointed at the screen with my finger. That does not make sense. So if the file, which we created up here, is equal to file chooser dot get selected file. Okay, so that pretty much means we want to set this file, which we created up here, equal to the file we selected in this file chooser. Now we're going to actually read the file. Yay. So for this we need a try-catch statement because sometimes issues occur when reading files in Java, just like reading files in any programming language. So what we do is we do try, and then we're going to make a catch statement. Now I'm going to put exception error. So you may be wondering, why didn't I just put exception E? Well, you'll notice that it's complaining about it, because E already exists for this method. E is used in action events, so we actually need to rename it to error instead of our normal E. So hopefully this catch doesn't happen, but just in case, it's good to have. So now we're going to do br equals new buffered reader, and then we are going to, sorry, one second, okay, there we go. So once we've done that, we're going to pass in some parameters. We're going to pass in new file reader, and then we're going to pass in something else called file. So what this pretty much means is we're creating a buffered reader, and then we're telling it that it's supposed to read the file. So it's just a quick way to tell it that. And then we're going to create a while loop. So we're going to do while, two parentheses, while current line equals br.readLine does not equal null. So this may seem kind of confusing, but let me break it down for you. This pretty much means while, so while our current line is equal to read line does not equal null. So that sounds completely confusing. So all this means is while we have not reached a line that is empty. So let me pull out an example file. That is not an example file. Let me pull out an example file. Let's go to desktop and let's go to example. Perfect, this will work. Okay, so you see I've created this empty text file, and it says this is an empty file, da 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 da, and it ends here. So when it's looking through this file, it's going to read here. It's going to read, oh, okay, I want to print this to the console. Okay, I want to print this to the console. Okay, I want to print this to the console. Okay, I want to print this to the console. And it's going to go to the next line expecting something to be there, but it's going to reach this and it's going to be empty. So we don't want the file reader to keep going down all these lines. We want it to stop once it reaches an empty line. So that's all it means. Okay, I'll close this out. And so that's really all that while loop means. And then we're simply going to print to the console. Okay, something is wrong with my shortcuts. I'll just type it out. System.out.println. And we are going to print to the console current line. Now we have this catch statement here. We're just going to simply print error, not arrow, error dot print stack trace. So that pretty much means print the error. So this is our entire file. Let's run it, and then I'll break it down one more time. Run it, and you'll see that this GUI pops up, and it has a simple button that says select. So let's select it, and you'll see a nice little JFileChooser pops up. So right now it has default in documents, and I want to set this to desktop, wherever that is. There it is. Okay. And I have an example file already laid out, which I showed you. So I'm going to click example.txt and click open. Now you'll notice if I bring up the console that it says this is an example file. The file chooser will read this file and print every line to the console. It will also stop reading the file once it finds a null or empty line, which is right here. So that is honestly the entire JFileChooser. It's actually really simple. All you need is a buffered reader, a file, and a JFileChooser, along with two variables, but those don't count. So all in all, it's really simple, and I'm going to break it down one more time before exiting, so let's do that. So in the beginning, we created four of these private components. We created a file chooser, we created a button, we created a private reader, and we created a file. We also created these two variables. We created a return value integer, and we created a current line string. So down here, we set the file chooser equal to a JFileChooser, so it creates an object. And then we set our open button equal to a new J button, and we set the text for it to display to select. We then set the preferred size of our GUI, and then we set the layout to nothing. And then we added our button to the GUI, and we set the boundaries for it. We also added an action listener for our button. Then in the action performed method, so when we click the button, we did an if statement that says if the source is open button, so if I click the button, I want you to return the value of the FileChooser.open dialog. So that pretty much means I want you to check if this is open or not. Then we check if the returned value is equal to JFileChooser.approve option. So if we're allowed to open this, then open it and do file equals FileChooser.getSelectedFile. So I want you to set the selected file equal to our file variable. Then we read the file. We did buffered reader equals new buffered reader, new file, blah, 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 blah. That pretty much means we want to set the buffered reader to read the file we have selected. Then we printed out everything in that file, and that was it. And we caught any errors if they occurred, which they didn't, which is good. And we got this really cool little thing printed out here. So make sure to check the source code in the description if you need to review anything. And that's really it. I will see you in the next tutorial. Goodbye.